Hey everybody, this is Nan, and I'm here with your May Allodium recap update, and we'll have a little bit of a forecast, I think, in here. Relative to Allodium in the last month, the Bushido protocol was implemented, so now not only is there a way to gain credit in the credit system of Allodium, the OG creds, there's also a way to lose credit, other than the whole judicial proceeding if someone abridges the affirmation. So it creates an honor system amongst the sovereigns cooperating, and further gamifies, incentivizes cooperation, and people being in harmony with each other, essentially not creating a bunch of conflict, because then that can be addressed in various ways, empowering the members and the sovereigns, the people cooperating with tools, empowerment in different ways. So not only was that protocol passed, but the first two strikes involved with that protocol were dealt. So I dealt two strikes to two individuals who had helped out 2 or 3 years ago, Young Wilkerson and Tealnon, who they both ended up not in alignment, and for several years haven't had any communication, despite my attempts to communicate with them. And so rather than keeping these people as securitized members of the cooperative who aren't in alignment with it, I burned my own funds and my own creds, 2,000 appreciation tokens of my own and 2 OG creds of my own, in order to deal the 2 strikes, which caused those 2 individuals their 2 creds to be burned. So they become, instead of being accredited individually and not being sponsored by anyone because they have their own OG creds, their creds were burned and they become unsponsored, dangling branches. And then so if they circle back within the next year, then I or someone else may responsor them. And then if they don't within a year, then their accounts will be burned. And then that's a solution to the ensuring that the members are in alignment, in active phase, not like passive aspects which are conflicted or in conflict over time, because over time that would create a mass conflicted cloud as opposed to an aligned harmonious trajectory. So all that's kind of ideological, but so that's the main updates relative to Allodium in the last month, that protocol was initiated and the first 2 strikes utilizing that protocol were dealt, and it helped to improve the integrity of the cooperative. And I'm happy to burn my own tokens and creds for that outcome, because that's the whole point of creating it in the first place, is for cooperation, and that cooperation to lead to symbiotic outcomes. So that's the main. Oh, so then also after following that, I decided to forgive all of the debt that's owed me from Allodium, from all the investments that I've made in the cooperative that haven't been reimbursed over time. And so that I don't know the exact figure, but somewhere some 5 figures or something. And then the money donated, the debt forgiven, was appreciated. And then so in 1-to-1 for $1 for 1 appreciation token. So the OG Foundation Reserve awarded me with an equivalent number of appreciation tokens, which was around 11 or 12,000, however much money was donated. And then I invested all of my OG creds pretty much into my final 39, I want to say. But my final, might have been 29. OG creds to get me up to 168. I was at 131. I had to burn 2 for the 2 strikes to 129 to get to 168. That would be 39 OG creds. So 39,000 appreciation tokens I invested in. So I've become the first fully accredited sovereign of Allodium, aka Jedi, because that's going to be our label for the fully accredited sovereign of Allodium, because that's long. Sovereigns of Allodium, there's a parallel there with the Sons of Anarchy, SOA. I didn't really think about that till later. We get some sweet biker jackets imitating them. Sons of Anarchy. Anyways, I have become a fully accredited Jedi of Allodium. And there's also a member with the name Jedi of Allodium. And perhaps... Anyways, so the return of the Jedi is now. I have returned as a Jedi. And there may be a culture of Jedi, a Jedi order that arises over time. We shall see. There's all of these distractions that try to prevent such videos from being made with kitties or calls or whatever. Just gotta get through it. This is the second time I tried. The last time. Anyways, we got through the fish tank. We got through the Allodium, the Bushido protocol, the strikes, the donation debt jubilee, fully accredited Jedi. That's all the Allodium updates. Pretty much. The OG Foundation updates, which is the physical locality here. In the last month, there's been a number of projects, a number of them relating to reinforcing past projects, past the foundation, basically. So one of them was a retaining wall in the lowest landing. That was actually a project from earlier this season, but put a finish coat on that for any time soon. There'll be more in other years, but that'll be good for several years. And then in the small tower, the ferrocement dome of that never had a coat on the inside, and that tower also needs to be reinforced in a couple ways. So I did the whole inner ferrocement dome of that, which looks great, and that's a big improvement on its overall strength. I'm going to add another reinforcement to another section or two to that to make sure that, because it's built on the side of a dirt hill, to make sure it doesn't kind of like lean and mess up its integrity. I'm going to reinforce that. See, there's a theme about foundational integrity and ensuring that it is sound. On a tangent, sometimes you literally do that with sound. Like, you say sound, make sure it's solid, it's sound, it's not going to fall apart. But sometimes you use sound, the frequency of sound, to determine if a thing is sound, right? Sound in a different way. If it's solid, it sounds different than if it's like not solid. If there's a mortar coat over insulation, it's going to sound different than a mortar coat over mortar. And I actually had to do that to find, similar to like knocking on a wall to find a stud, to find a good anchor point for the final arch of the big project of this. Did I say the other one? So it was the gate tower. Okay, so then the third little project was buttressing, reinforcing a tire wall up in the courtyard, which had started to lean, and basically from the winter, because the water is getting in the tires and then freezing, and then over successive winters it kind of leans a little more on the curved sections, because where it's curved it pushes out. So I've reinforced and buttressed that in the first couple coats. I'm going to add more later, but I did enough to make sure it's not still leaning and looking precarious and ominous and falling over. So those were all low gratification, visual satisfaction, kind of just like working on old things just to make sure that they maintain their integrity. But even though, I don't know, there actually is a lot of satisfaction or almost like relief or de-stress derived from eliminating the liabilities, a falling tire wall or a falling tower or a earth retaining wall, which might not hold. It becomes a liability because if it falls and cracks, then it's it's terrible. It's just a sign of failure, essentially. And you can parallel that with the whole with people also, where if you try to maintain people who aren't in harmony in a cooperative, it's just going to lead to future crumbling and failure and cracking, and it's better to just address the issues, address the dishes, or just do the dishes too. It's better to do them directly and get them out of the way, so that doesn't weigh you down into the future. But the big project has been the project out front, which is connecting the old garage structure to the existing, or to the gate tower, then to the existing structure. It's turned into quite a large project, significantly bigger than the garage from last season, which is what I was trying to avoid, but I'm really happy with how it's turning out, and I'm enjoying the process of doing all the mortar, even though it's like endless weeks of mortar and whatnot, but it's fun and it's creative, and I know it's creating a product that I'm going to be proud of, and that's going to last and provide enduring value, which rock does in a way that wood doesn't really do. They both do, but the wood gets replaced with the rock, and the rock endures for a longer duration than the wood and has less potential for mold or critters infesting or bugs or whatnot. So on that big project out front, basically at the beginning of May, all I had was a couple of tire columns up to start, or maybe just one tire column to start the arches and the idea, and then basically this whole month has been getting the arches up and then connecting the arches and those kind of V things, and then getting those arches to arch over to the other bank and connecting it all, and it's going great. I'm really happy with how that's going. And I think that at this point, I'm about halfway through the mortar on that project. So it's the end of May, which is the first month of the official season. So it's a 6-month season. We're the first month through, so 1/6 of the way through the Allodium season. But that project is halfway through the mortar, so I'm really happy with that, with those kind of ratios. And if I'm just going to keep going full steam ahead at that for the most part. I've got to do a couple other things, but I'm hoping to get a majority of the mortar done by the summer solstice. Because energetically, I feel like that's when I have most of my energy for expansion and building, is the spring up until the solstice, and that's the goal. And we're on track for that. It's all looking great for that. The project did start before May, so it's not like it's only been 1 month in to get halfway there. So it could take until like July to really finish with the mortar, but we've got a goal, and enjoying the work, and it's all good. Also, the 2 chicks, which were born in April. I want to say they were born in April. Must have been. They are growing fast. They've been integrated. They were living in the house for a while. I had to kick them out because I finally got frustrated with the mess and everything. Though they're so cute and amazing, and I miss them also being in the house. And sometimes they run in the front door and they're just so happy and cute and just running in, and they're great. And the last few nights I've brought them in at night because it's been so cold and they're still developing their feathers, but they're doing great. There's a pair of them, so they're always together doing their own thing, and the other chickens don't seem to bother them, and so they've basically reintegrated with the flock, and they're eating the pellets and drinking the same water, and they know where to go at night, and so great success. There's a dozen chickens, and I'm doing really good about keeping up on eating the eggs. which I feel like is the best energy source. I feel the best when I eat the eggs, and it's also obviously the lowest cost, so healthiest, best cost. So as long as there's no eggs going to waste and I'm eating them all, then there's room for the flock to grow. But I just don't want to grow it too much where there's waste. So in the long run, it's probably good that only 2 chickens survived. 3 hatched, 2 survived out of that whole incubator batch, which was like maybe 30. There was an equipment failure, but in the end, I think it's probably good that there's two more chickens to the flock of 10, as opposed to 30 more chickens to the flock of 10, because that could easily become like, it's interesting how abundance, if you get too much abundance, it can turn to like squalor. Like you have all this stuff and you don't know what to do with it, and then it can like start building up and molding, and then it's like, it's all about balance. All about balance. Just a little bit of abundance with the balance, and as long as you can spread that abundance around to other people so it doesn't turn to squalor, then the abundance is always good. But that's a skill also. If you grow like 20 cucumbers and you can only eat 2, the other 18, if you can give them away, you've done a great thing. But if they all rot, then it's like a waste. If you can sell them, that's potentially even better. But as long as they're getting eaten and valued, then there's extra value in that abundance, as opposed to negative value in the abundance, because those things are just wasted. So that requires infrastructure, for example, like a farm stand. So if I have my 18 extra cucumbers, if I can just bring them down to the farm stand and say, free cucumbers, they'll probably get eaten. Or if I can try to sell them, they might get bought. Or maybe the best of both worlds is say free plus donation, so people can take them for free. Or if they want to pay, then they can do that also. The whole idea of appreciation tokens is that people would be getting appreciation tokens abundantly. They would already have an abundance, so if I put the farm stand out, then they would just send some appreciation tokens in exchange. Because it's like, here I have an abundance of goods, here I have an abundance of appreciation tokens. We have a little exchange, and both people benefit. Even if I just give away those cucumbers, I still benefit, because I feel good knowing that the thing that was created is valued as opposed to wasted. That was a little battery update thing. We got enough battery to finish. I'll stop going on tangents. Where are we? The project. It's going great. I did the last arch I've got started, mortared in place. It was a pain in the butt to get up, but it's there. It's between this arch structure, which was built like 5 years ago, which has the water reservoir in it, connected to the Earthship structure, which was the very first structure I built. I think it's 7 years ago now. So it's arching those 2 structures together with mortar, and then it's going to connect that arch to the hallway, which is connecting the current year's project, which is connecting the garage of last year's project, which is connecting to the gate tower, which is the previous year or two's project. So all of these different projects over different years are all getting combined, and that's it's so satisfying, but it's not even close to the degree of satisfaction that it's going to get to once it's finished, because I can only see the starts of it now, but it's really motivating to keep doing the work, and that's what sustainably needs to fuel me when I'm self-motivated. It needs to be exciting, so it's not like work and drudgery, but I'm just like, I have the opportunity to do what I love to do, and I can do that all day, and how great is that? So the attitude, mentality makes all the difference. So there's been big projects with that, and with a bit of luck, by the next monthly video, that project will be fully mortared. Or at least mostly, but pretty much fully. At least the ferro cement roof and arches and that kind of stuff hopefully will be done by the end of June. There might be some walls and closing date and insulating. Oh, and that's another thing. I got fish tank times 2. At least there hasn't been a kitty yet. No one's called. The phone hasn't run out of battery. bought more materials. So I also got a whole trailer full of insulation panels. There's inflation, who knows if the prices will go up, but bought those now so that that's already ready for the walls and stuff to close in and insulate this new structure. Okay, and I think that's everything from the foundation. So also there's another planter cell filled with manure and 3 planter cells planted. Actually, the 4th one, because the 4th, which wasn't filled with manure, was planted with beans, which should add the nitrogen, fix it into the other stuff. So basically all 4 planters that that were built this year were all planted. There's still like at least another 4 that haven't been built. So that'll be for next year or something. So I don't think I'm going to do that this year. So there's some plants in the ground growing. And that's everything from the foundation. Relative to the overall economy, external, everything going on, just in May, one of the big things has been the crypto bubble reached its peak and has had a huge correction. I think it got up to like 2.6, 2.7 trillion overall market cap. Bitcoin, I think, got up to like 60,000 price each, well over $1 trillion of its market cap. And it's had an overall market sell-off of like 50% or something like that in the last month. And it's not clear if it's over. But there's just so much volatility. The same thing with the overall economy. There's all of this inflation happening. And all these economic effects of the whole COVID lockdown, and then splits with that, where you have some states wanting to maintain that new normal and other states wanting to go back to the other normal, the old normal versus the new normal, and the divide. Lots of instability and volatility and destabilization on so many different levels, whether it's like global or national or just interpersonal. And the same. Basically, there's a lot of warning signs, flashing warning signs that the economic trouble, it's all around us and it's getting worse. The problem is that the mainstream narrative, they're telling you a story that it's all getting better, that the economy's booming like it never has, and people buy it because that's what they're being sold, and it's repeated on all the different channels, like, oh, there's 8% GDP growth this year, or maybe it's 12%. It's the biggest in decades. And they just kind of ignore the crash that just happened. But basically, I am preparing for collapse in the fall, right around September probably. I'm expecting transitory inflation because we see it happening, and it's acknowledged by everyone. But in order for it to be transitory, there has to be a large deflationary event to make it transitory as opposed to permanent. So that's on the horizon, is a large deflationary event, which I see happening in the fall. It could happen sooner, so I don't. My convictions aren't so black and white that I'm like 100% here now and 100% here then. So, like, I don't know for sure, but inflation leading up to a large deflationary event. The tricky thing is cryptos, because cryptos are like the anti-inflation thing, but they just hit their peak and are, so it's like the cryptos are having their own deflationary event right now, as the inflation is ramping up, which is why it's a very risky I mean, it always has been a high risk, high reward kind of asset class, especially Bitcoin. I wouldn't go anywhere near Bitcoin or Ethereum. I only, personally, I dabble in Bitcoin Cash, Waves, and Dash. Well, in the proper order, it would be Waves, Bitcoin Cash, and Dash. And obviously the appreciation tokens are hosted on the Waves ecosystem. And the Waves ecosystem itself has had all these new innovations where you can access DeFi through the Waves platform. So you can get yields between 30 and 150% yearly return by staking to DeFi pools or logarithmic trading on the Waves platform. So anyone listening to this who's a member of Allodium, if you want to do this, you can take your appreciation tokens from the Allodium exchange. You can withdraw them from the Allodium exchange and have them sent to your Waves exchange wallet. So you become the custodian for your appreciation tokens. You can sell those appreciation tokens for Waves, and then those Waves you can stake on the Waves platform at interest. Or you can convert the Waves to US dollar tether, so backed digital US dollars, the tether. There might be some risk there, but when they're in tether, you can put them in other interest-bearing accounts, whether in algorithmic trading or algorithmic logarithmic trading or staking, and earn between 30 and 150% returns on that. So Allodium's kind of offering an easy on-ramp to get into this whole ecosystem, which is really empowering. I mean, it's great. Currently, there's all these different potentials of different risks and rewards. So Allodium's assets currently are generating like $5 a day just from the assets on the Waves platform. So overall, as the cooperative, it's like we're in the black of financially. It's like that's a revenue stream, $5 every day. That's a significant amount that can pay for the chicken feed, a lot more chicken feed than that. I can pay for the internet and the chicken feed, and that's like two of the main expenses. I mean, if the chickens are producing the eggs, and that's the main food source, so if I can get more than 50% of the food from the eggs, and the internet is the number one bill, the whatever SpaceX thing, $100 a month, that's the only bill basically. So that $5 a day from the Waves passive income cover the internet, cover the eggs. And then there's the other less than 50% of food that has to get paid for, and the phone, and those are all my personal expenses. The chickens aren't an Allodium expense, and the internet only is during the build season, so during 50% of the year. So that's great. More abundance. More empowerment, more abundance, and people who are in alignment can learn from all that and can be similarly empowered. Recently, anyways, yeah, I'm just walking. What else? Masks. In the mask agenda has been thwarted. Victory in the last month. A lot of credit does go to Texas and Florida, such big populous states, and their governors are taking a stand, in a way. Kind of. They're pushing back anyways. Against the masks and the vaccine passports. And that's a big aspect of the division that we're going on. It's like the globalist, Marxist, communist-aligned political type people want free money, and they don't want to do any work, and they like mandates, and they don't like freedom, and they love government and taxes, and they think everything's free and it comes from the government, and they don't really understand how anything works. So that's about half of the population, especially the very urban population that's been indoctrinated like that. It's not like that's the people's fault. It's like that's how they've been programmed. And it takes active effort to deprogram oneself, or even others. The cat's trying to ruin me. Anyways, so that's been good news. Pushback on the masks in the vaccine passports. Vermont, which Allodium is an enclave of, currently is not one of those states that has been pushing back. Vermont is one of these progressive states that thinks that they can mandate what everyone does, and freedom has no value, and taxes are great, and the government is entitled to a fraction of your income and everything you spend, and you need permission to do the things that free people do. So that all sucks. But overall, I love Vermont, and there's all sorts of positive things that outweigh those negative political things. But the politics doesn't matter anyways, because as long as you're acting locally, then you just withdraw from the other politics, and then you actually make an impact on your locality and with your funds and what you can do, what you can support, what you're aligned with, and everything. All actions and choices have consequences. So as we take responsibility and make better choices and more responsible actions, we have better outcomes. So as things are fractioning externally, we're building here and investing, and it's all looking good. It's the whole community thing, multiple people working together, common cause, hasn't really crystallized this year. It seemed like it was going to happen in the spring, and early spring, late winter, but it's like connected to it's like people are more willing to take a leap of faith into a new reality if the old reality is really falling apart or threatening or doesn't seem appealing. But as long as that old reality, as long as people are getting free money and a stimulus check to not work and to just sit at home, they don't want to go back to work. And that's just the old normal. But talking about the new normal, it's like people are more apt to be considering the Allodium kind of lifestyle and culture when the new normal is pushed, because the new normal is so dystopic and unappealing that in comparison, people are more willing to consider moving off-grid and accepting a degradation of comfort value in order to integrate with an ideology and a culture which is thriving apart from the debt-based scarcity collapsing empire. I'm going to leave it there. I said a whole bunch. We had an outlook, a forecast. I gave you a financial forecast, in a sense, what we're doing, short-term, medium-term, up until September, inflation, after